Take off the blindfold, Ramsey.
No.
Take it off.
What?
It's beautiful. You need to see it.
Is that you, Vanessa? Is that you?
You need to see it.
Wait, I really don't think I should.
You
No.
need to.
No.
You
No.
need to see it.
I don't want to see it.
It's beautiful. See it.
Nah.
See it. See it.
It's not so bad. It's not so bad.
I do the stuff for the street. I do the stuff for the street. I do the stuff for the street. I do the
Give it
stuff
up
for the street. For the street. For the street. For the street.
Hey, it's Ramsey Dewey and Vanessa Dewey, my wife, and we are going to do a review of a movie we just saw called Bird Box. So, I guess it's a movie that came out on Netflix, not in theaters. So we watched it on our computer, and we have some thoughts about it. Oh, spoiler warning. Like, we're going to give all the spoilers for this movie review, as we always do. Spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. If you're concerned about that, run and hide. And don't watch this review. Don't see it. Keep your blindfolds on. How would you describe the plot?
The plot is the same as The Happening.
Okay, yeah, that Mark Wahlberg film.
But instead of the plants. Spoiler alert.
We already gave a spoiler alert. It's okay.
But for The Happening, instead of the plants trying to kill the humans, it's some like creepy black cloud sort of thing.
Yeah, we never actually see the entity or creature or thing or whatever it is that's causing everybody to kill themselves. But when they see it, they commit suicide. And except the crazy people. The crazy people are somehow immune to this. They don't kill themselves. Instead, they just go crazier and want other people to see the thing, whatever it is that makes them want to kill themselves.
I think that was one of my favorite parts of the movie was just the fact that they included the crazy people. That made it interesting.
So in this era of political correctness, would you say this movie is politically incorrect or offensive to crazy people?
Gosh, I didn't think that hard into it.
Because I looked through a couple of discussions online on the internet about how this movie is insensitive to the crazies, and
I think that it was like actually nice to the crazies because it seems like they have an advantage in society for once, whereas like usually people they believe that they're like obviously the unadvantaged minority of society, but at this point they definitely have a benefit over other people. So I mean, if anything, it makes it look like being crazy is beneficial finally.
Yeah. So our central character, played by Sandra Bullock, is supposedly not a crazy person. She is a shut-in, she's an artist, and she is pregnant for some reason. She doesn't seem to want the children. We're never really given the backstory, who the father is, what the relationship is, why she is pregnant, does not want a child. No backstory there. But, the happening starts happening. Yes, that is a reference to the movie The Happening, because it's essentially the same plot. The happening starts happening.
I appreciated this movie because I'm a big fan of apocalyptic movies and like zombie-esque movies, and I'm always, looking forward to the next one, or like if there's like plagues or some viral outbreak. I'm always like the first to watch those movies. So yeah,
she totally is.
So I felt like, another one of those. Although I actually had no idea that was the plot. I saw this, I think, too early to realize what was actually the plot, because not a lot of people had talked about it by the time we watched it.
Yeah, there was one week we ended up watching like 3 movies in a row all about diseases breaking out and killing everybody, and I don't remember the names in any of them. That dude who played Captain Kirk in the new Star Trek was in one of them, and it's all a blur from there. But yeah, back to The Happening. Bird Box. So Sandra Bullock and her sister, they go out. Mayhem starts to ensue at the hospital. A lady starts to bash her head into the wall. People are confused. They heard that there are mass suicides in Russia, And then somebody's like, it's that thing from Russia. It's happening here. And they all run outside. There's pandemonium in the streets. People are crashing into each other. People are killing themselves. Sandra Bullock's sister goes off and kills herself. And they all end up holding up in a house because apparently this thing that is outside can't go inside.
Yeah, you know what I don't get is why, like, throughout the movie, it's implied that if she just for a brief second looks out the window, she's done for. Yet she's totally fine outside while her sister is taken over by this thing, and she's like still running around, and but like the movie, for the rest of the movie, implies that within like seconds of looking out.
Yeah, when it started, it was really, really selective about who it got. Like, it got her sister, and Sandra Bullock looks down like, what happened? What did I miss? And then her sister goes nuts and kills herself. And some people are just totally fine, and other people, it gets them right away. But after a certain point, it just seems to get everybody pretty quickly. So they hide in this house for a while, and there's a ragtag group of diverse individuals, John Malcovich and a bunch of actors whose names I don't know. And yeah, it was Sandra Bullock and John Malkovich, the only actors whose names I recognize.
I really liked how John Malkovich was a jerk, and I liked that he was like basically right all the time, and I liked that the movie trope of the guy being jerk actually being wrong or being a bad guy. You need to defeat him. I like that didn't necessarily happen. I like that it was like, oh man, the people who were caring and wanted to save other people, they were actually, you know, kind of being idiots because of their compassion, which is sad, but that's real life, you know.
We have to save the crazies.
But I mean, it's true. Like they let that guy in without any questions. It's like,
oh yeah, so they're holed up in the house, and this girl named Olympia, who's also pregnant, and she's nice to a fault. There's somebody knocking on the door saying, let me in, and spoiler alert, yeah, we already gave that. He's one of the crazies, but they don't know it at first.
And what I don't understand is why she never like checks with anyone, like, hey, there's somebody at the door, what should we do? She just like lets them in.
Yeah, and John Malkovich, he flips out, and so they lock him in the other room because they're like, we've had enough of you being mean, and we don't like it, so we're going to lock you in the other room. And so they let the crazy guy in. What was his name, the crazy guy? I don't know, but there's this thing, like when people get infected by this thing, by the happening or whatever it is, by the monster. What are we going to call this thing for simplicity? Because it keeps coming up.
The creepy black cloud.
The creepy black cloud that you never see. Anyway, their eyes change.
They turn green.
Or they glow.
With like little swirlies.
You know that TV?
Oh no, that's the crazy people.
Yeah, the crazy people have like
the crazy people have the greenish
eyes
with like the yellow squigglies in them.
Yeah, it's that TV trope when you know somebody's evil because they look at the camera and their eyes like glow a different color, or you know somebody has special powers or something because their eyes glow or twinkle. Mm-hmm. That same thing happened in Aquaman. Except except instead of showing that Aquaman was evil or bad or infected, it was to show he had superpowers when he was a kid.
Wow, how many more movies with eyes changing will there be?
We should check out tvtropes.com and read up the list of the eye changing color trope, whatever that one's called. So they get in the car, black out the windows, and use the GPS to guide themselves over to
I have to
the
say,
store.
That was probably one of my favorite scenes, is them trying to navigate in that car just with their GPS with all the windows darkened, because I think that was the time I felt like the most suspense, like especially when it's like their sensors are like
proximity alert, because the creature, the happening,
and just like the
cloud,
fact that they're
sees.
like driving over dead bodies and stuff, that just creeped me out.
They're like, just a speed bump, totally not a speed bump.
That does like those moments like are like when I actually feel like it's real, you know, because I don't know, sometimes when you see too much of like the monster or the trees ruffling in the wind, I'm just like, oh gosh, you know. But
and again, they never ever show the monster, not even remotely.
Thank goodness they didn't show that monster.
There was a scene where the crazy guy excuse me, the two pregnant ladies, they're both giving birth at the same time. Meanwhile, downstairs, the crazy guy takes out a bunch of drawings of these dark, cloudy, demonic creature-looking things, which might imply maybe that's the creature he's seeing, or maybe he's just crazy and likes to draw.
Yeah, or if that maybe
evil-looking
that's
pictures.
maybe the crazy black cloud weird monster thing is it projects whatever you want to see. So it's like that's what he wanted to see out of it.
Yeah, because people had way different reactions when they saw this. Like Sandra Bullock's character's sister, she saw it and she was like, "Mom, or was that it?" Or
No,
was
that was
it
the wife.
Oh yeah, the John Malcovich's wife. She walked outside. She's like, "Mom," and runs into a car and like burns herself alive because it's on fire. And Olympia, I think it was the pregnant lady, when she sees the creature, she's like, "It's not so bad.
See it, see it.
It's not so bad," and jumps out the window. And again, everybody has a very different reaction. So clearly, they're all seeing
wonder
something
what
very different.
Your reaction would be.
I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a good question. Now, to a lot of people, the idea of going without sight is terrifying. And I actually have a blind spot in one eye, and so I've dealt with that since 2011, and yeah, I've had to rely a lot on my other senses anyway. So it's not, to me, it wouldn't really be the end of the world having to put a blindfold on and move around outside. I mean, it would kind of suck, but the idea doesn't terrify me as much as a lot of people, I think. But I get it. I get that, sensory deprivation can be an absolutely terrifying thing for some people, especially if there's danger out there, like crazies lurking, trying to pull you into a river or whatever. So the movie is shown out of sequence a little bit. There are flashbacks and flash forwards throughout the film. So we're kind of trying to tell the plot in chronological order here.
I don't think that was my question, but.
Oh, like what would I see? Like what? I don't know. So what the creature seemed to show people seemed to be fairly inconsistent. I've heard a lot of people online. We watched a bunch of reviews of this after we saw the movie to see what other people thought, and other people basically said the creature shows you your deepest fears, and I didn't really get that from the film, especially since other people were seeing different things. Like the lady was like, "Mom, is that you?" And the other lady is like, "It's not so bad." And other people were just terrified, like, "Ah!" And so I didn't really get that. I mean, there was major inconsistency in that regard.
What's your deepest fear, Ramsey Dewey?
Man, I don't even know, man. I don't even know. Clowns. Ooh, the phobia of clowns.
But it's supposed to be a fear that doesn't necessarily scare you. It's supposed to be a fear that makes you so sad you want to kill yourself.
Do people kill themselves because they're sad?
Well, they're like, their eyes look sad, and like there seems to be tears like welling up in their eyes. So I think it's like whatever their deepest fears or something about them makes them so
this is a question
miserable.
This movie has made me think about is the causes of suicide. 'Cause suicide is man, it's a big deal. I mean, in the United States, there are I looked up a bunch of statistics because a bunch of friends of mine were talking about like gun control in the U.S. and all this, and the major cause of gun-related deaths in the U.S. is suicide by far. In fact, worldwide, suicides with firearms, I believe. This is true in the U.S. I don't know about outside, but yeah, they kill more people than wars, which is alarming. But what the actual cause is, I don't know. Is it just because they feel so sad? I don't know.
It's just they just find that living is not worth it anymore.
But that's interesting that when people watched this movie, they associated sadness with the concept of suicide. Well, that's a really depressing subject to talk about, isn't it?
I don't know. Could it have been fear? I don't know. Sometimes when people are afraid, their eyes also tear up.
Yeah. So
maybe they were afraid.
Another thing this movie made me think about is, there's this invisible entity out there that suddenly people can see, and if it's fear, it scares the crap out of them so much that they don't want to exist in the same world as this thing anymore, and so they're trying to get out by killing themselves essentially. And which is a really interesting concept because especially if you understand the way that eyes work, because eyes are not cameras. And I say this a lot in a lot of my videos, and Vanessa and I were talking about this earlier today, about how our eyes are not cameras. They don't show us a photorealistic image of the world. Instead, they are imaging probability generators. In other words, what we see is our mind's best guess of what will probably happen a fraction of a second in the future based on our previous experiences, based on our mind comparing and contrasting images and experiences from the past. So there's this idea that when we're babies, everything's blurry and we don't really see anything clearly. And if we look at a face, we just see like two dark dots for the eyes and the general shape of a head, which is why people often say people who see aliens, what they're really doing is just having early childhood recollections of looking at big oval faces with dark dots for eyes, because that's generally how people describe aliens, like looking over them as they're like lying down, unable to move. And they're saying, oh, it's just repressed childhood memories or whatever. And there may be something to that, maybe not. Maybe there are aliens out there, but only the crazies can see them.
Wouldn't it be a cool plot twist if, like, those things, basically, because, like, you know, babies, they don't have, like, I don't know, anything that they can have fears or sadness for, because they're, like, newborns, I guess.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it be interesting, because, like, how that thing, how it manifests itself differently in, like, the crazies. What if it, like, used the babies as, like, a vehicle and, like, possessed them? That would be a cool plot twist.
But what would it do? Because newborns can't really do anything.
It would
They
just
lie
kind
there
of
and
like
they're
a slug, like, just kind of, like, go across the floor like this.
They can't
And
even
then it
move.
would, like,
They can't even crawl.
take its little fingers and be like, see.
Oh, man. Oh, man. So yeah, the crazy guy, well, after the two women have their babies, he like starts killing everybody in the house, and then he runs upstairs and he's like, show the babies, let the babies see, and he wants to show the babies the suicide monster. He wants to show them the happening, and Sandra Bullock's like trying to hide the babies under the blankets so they can't see it, and but yeah, it begs the question, what would have happened if the babies saw it? Because babies can't kill themselves. They have no gross motor skills. They have no fine motor skills.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they could have just, they would have manifested it differently. So just like the crazy people, they don't have any, like, they've already seen their biggest fears. So they're not afraid of them anymore. They've faced them already. So they are definitely interpreting things differently than the average person. So babies would also interpret things differently.
Yeah.
And they could totally do something
Maybe babies
crazy.
wouldn't even see it.
I just think they should have went with that somehow.
Yeah. So Sandra Bullock manages to escape the crazy guy. How did she do that? I don't really remember.
The Tom saved her.
Oh yeah, the black dude. He comes back with. Did he shoot the crazy guy?
I think so. I can't remember.
I don't know. Anyway, they get rid of the crazy guy. They kill him or something. And so it's just Tom and Sandra Bullock's character. What was her name in the movie?
Mallory.
Mallory, yeah. Tom and Mallory and the two kids. Olympia's daughter. Olympia's dead now. She jumped out the window. And so they're raising these two kids as their own kind of, except Sandra Bullock becomes this very distant authority figure rather than a mother, and has them call her by her first name instead of mom, and she calls them boy and girl. Very creative names right there. How'd you feel about the kids' names, or lack thereof?
I thought that was a cool twist, you know. I mean, it's not something you've seen before in the movies, so I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, Tom didn't think it was cool, however, and he's like, they don't even have names. These kids, they need to have some joy in their lives. And Sandra Bullock's like, everything I do is for their survival. And
well, they survived as long as they did, so it makes sense.
Yeah, so a group of crazies eventually come to attack the house, and
This is the part that pisses me off.
Yeah, and so Tom decides to do that TV trope where, the heroic sacrifice that is totally useless and unnecessary.
Sacrifice. All he had to do was wait behind the couch inside of the home, let them come one by one, shoot them inside the house. You don't need to go outside and be looking at things. Just stay in your safe place and just behind the couch, just snipe them off.
Yeah, so Tom goes outside with his blindfold on with a gun because, you can use guns so well blindfolded.
Why go out into their element? Make them come into your home. And then...
at least he could see them then. And the crazies end up killing him. And, well, he takes off his blindfold so he can shoot them. And then he kills himself.
That was cool, though, that they, let him shoot one more guy before he, saw the thing. Or he actually saw the thing, and then he still was able to shoot one more guy. That was cool.
Yeah. So Mallory and the kids escape, and they get some radio communication from some strangers who say they have a compound, that like a safe house, and so they decide to go. It requires them to get in a boat and go on the river. They get on the river. They've got their blindfolds on, and they start hearing a voice like, "Take off your blindfolds," and it turns out to be a crazy guy, wading in the river, catching hypothermia, just in case somebody happens to come by, as one does.
I want to know his backstory.
he tries to pull them out of the boat.
Why the hell is he in the middle of a river? Is he fishing? Or is he just hoping boats will come by, as if it happens every day?
Just in case people come by in a boat so he can make them
if I was
see.
a crazy person, I'd be doing crazy shit elsewhere, not in a freaking river. I'd be out there, living my life as a crazy.
Yeah, the crazies were really, really intent on finding the survivors and making them see this thing they thought was so beautiful.
Yeah, I guess they're not really living their life, are they? If their mission is just to find survivors.
Yeah.
I still want a backstory of a crazy person. I want to know the movie through their perspective.
Yeah, this movie raised a lot more questions than it gave answers to, which is great for discussion, but not so great if you want the answers. So they're going...
I was left pretty content. I mean, I was annoyed that Tom had to be killed off, but I mean, for the most part, I was content with the events that happened. Oh, no, I was not content with the first guy. The first guy in the movie who's the nerdy guy who knows everything. He's writing the novel.
Oh, yeah.
I was pissed
Exposition
off.
Man.
They killed him off way too early. I like that guy.
Yeah, Exposition guy was okay.
So I was pissed off about that. But other than that, I was okay with everything that went down.
Yeah, so they go down the river. They get to a fork in the river where somebody supposedly has to see in order to take the right path in the river so they don't all die. And so she explains this to her kids, and boy says, "I'll do it." And Mallory's like, no, I will choose.
Which means she's going to choose
and then you see
daughter.
Girl just starts flipping out but eventually says, I'll do it. She's like, no, I'll choose. And then
that was really realistic though, right? Do you think? Where it's I felt like that was one of the few times I really felt like this is the realism of the movie. Because that's something that would happen in real life. You don't have time to think in those situations. So, you have to say something to give yourself time to think.
But instead they decided to go with Plan C, which was Deus Ex Machina. Nobody has to see, and yet they'll all live and survive the rapids and being turned upside down in a boat. But
I don't understand, what was the point of seeing? Was there a fork in the road? I don't get that part.
Yeah, I didn't really get it either. It wasn't very clearly explained. Maybe
because it implied that they had to see to get through somewhere, but it seems like the rapids, basically if you take off your blindfold, you're basically going to see that creepy thing in the sky within 2 seconds. So it's not it's helping you manage through the rapids. It's just if there's a fork in the road, you're like, oh, go left, don't go right or whatever. But I never saw any part in the movie where that was necessary to make that decision. Did I miss that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was confusing. Anyway, they get bucked off the boat and they're in the rapids, and yet they all survive magically and end up on the the banks of the river, and they wander around for a bit, and they hear voices, and the voices like, take off your blindfolds, children, and the kids start to take off their blindfolds, but then stop, and eventually they make it to the safe house, and they're knocking outside, let us in, and the evil force is coming, like, take off your blindfolds, and she's like, take the children, at least take them. Anyway, they let them in eventually, and they're like, check their eyes, they're clear. So the big climactic conclusion of the movie is, it's a school for the blind.
And they're all the survivors of the blind, and they're all in their happy blind place.
Yeah. So basically,
Utopia.
And this is where Vanessa and I differ largely in opinion on the end of the movie. It seemed to me that they ended up in the same situation they were in before, just with more people around them in a different building.
Well, you have not watched enough Walking Dead. Like, people are useful. They're not just a strain.
You sound like Negan. People are a resource.
People are a resource. They all have different skill sets. They all bring something to the table. Basically, if you're cut off from TV and internet, all these sources of entertainment, then you're gonna need people. Like there's that guy over there who does magic tricks. He's gonna help you. He's gonna help you, entertain you. You're just by yourself in a cottage in the woods. There's only so much entertainment you can give to yourself.
Blind magic tricks?
I don't know. I'm just giving an example. The point is, being around other people, having that social setting, like that happiness that comes from being with other people, that's going to sustain you. That's going to make you like want to live. If you're all alone, actually, who am I talking? You like to be alone. No, I'm serious. Like, if we have a chance to go out on the weekend, he doesn't want to go out. I had to drag him out. He wants to stay and just hang out at home. I'm like, let's go somewhere. Let's be with other people. So this is the difference of opinion is based on our personalities.
I guess so. But I can see what you mean. I can see where you're coming from there now that you explain it like that. Let's talk about one final point. The birds. The source of the title of this movie, The Bird Box. So birds have this ability to sense the evil happening, cloud, dark, demon creature, whatever it is. And they go nuts and start tweeting a bunch when they sense it near, or when they sense crazies who are possessed by the creature. And so...
But why birds? Why not mice? Or
I don't know. Maybe mice would too, but they found a cage of birds, and the birds went nuts.
Yeah, but then that one blind school just relied on birds. Unless they were already in...
Yeah, they had a ton of birds flying around all over the building.
But why birds?
Because bird box is much more alliterative than mouse box.
Yeah, that sounds cooler.
One thing I couldn't help but to think, at the school for the blind, there were tons of birds flying overhead in this like arboretum type of room. It was enclosed, and there were 50 people there, and I kept thinking, these people are going to get bird poop on their heads, man.
Oh yeah.
Because the birds, they're indoor birds, and they got to poop, and birds poop a lot. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, these people are going to get pooped on a lot.
How are they going to feed the birds too?
I don't know. Because
they have basically, if they die of starvation, they can start eating the birds. That's like their food supply right there.
They could, but
food storage.
They're really small birds.
Cook them up in a group.
Anyway, we're getting way off topic here.
We have to tell them the joke that I came up with on the metro.
What's that?
So, basically, we were on the metro today, and we were headed off to Red Lobster, which just barely opened in Shanghai, and I was super excited about that because I love Red Lobster. Yeah,
we live in Shanghai, China, for anyone not familiar with the channel.
And anyway, I think I already missed a few stops on the metro, and I was saying to Ramsey, like, come on, you need to also help me out, navigate where we're going. But he was sleeping, and so I was like, don't make me bird box you. Look at the map.
See.
Tell me where to go.
So yeah, bird box. I'd give it a solid. It was okay.
I liked it. I mean, it was I mean, it was different. I mean, okay, it's not that different compared to some movies, but
It was different, except it was exactly the same as the
there
happening.
was some interesting elements. Like I said, I love the scene where they're in the car using the GPS. That sold me. But yeah, it was definitely like I love watching any movies that are like thrillers. So I just need more of them. So just make more of them, please.
Awesome. All right, this concludes our review of Bird Box.
Bye.